it's been a journey, and it's pretty cool because I had to collect stories from different people, like different family members, and so just have it like it was sort of like an interview to them. Like, hey, so this question, woo, woo, blah, blah, blah. And so it was cool hearing their side of the story, and that's what gave me ideas for like my book outside of this one, which is gonna be the next one. Is like I want to start interviewing people and just have them share their story, just so I can get some inspiration or I can learn through someone's experience and just map it in mine.
Hey, readers and writers. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 29 of Read and Write. Today, I'm chatting with author Kenneth Scott about his first novel, An Establishing Theme. Hi, Kenneth.
What is going on with you, Deb? How's your day going?
It's been one of those days. The kids just recently had a day off from school this week, so I went a little insane on Monday. I'm a little bit better now. I had time to the sandy level to come back down.
Yeah. What's the weather like over in your area? Because I don't know about you, but it's been raining over here. So it's kind of put a little damper in my mood.
It's been raining and it's been like 75 and I hate that. I want it to be cold. I'm so annoyed at the weather right now.
Well, you better than I am. I being raised in California, I was in that cool to mid weather. So it's like 70s all the time. So I can it depends on my mood if I want to wear a sweater or not. And then, basically that's how, I appropriated my clothing. So, but now that I live in Texas, I have to wear t-shirts basically all the time because as soon as I step outside, I'm already sweating.
Oh no.
In the butt.
I could never live in Texas. I like 60s. Like that's my sweet spot is 60s. Like I can wear a sweater and jeans and I am the happiest person in the world. 70s I'm okay with. Right now I'm kind of pissed off at the 70s because it's supposed to be in the 60s. That's why I'm pissed off at it. But anything more than that, I'm just like, oh my God, get me some air conditioning.
Man, I'll tell you this about Texas. Before I moved to Texas, I'd never heard of flying roaches in my life. Never.
Oh my God, that sounds terrifying.
Terrifying. I thought, man, you would have thought someone was shooting at me the way I'm just dodging everything. So like outside, you really like, especially at nighttime, you really have flying roaches. I was like, and they have wings and everything.
I am never moving to Texas.
Yeah. I was like, that was a big eye opener to me for sure.
Why did you move to Texas?
Man, so I was born here. And then when I was 4 years old, me and my mom moved to California. And so basically all my family lives out here in Texas. So
okay.
Free daycare, I get to live with my family.
There's no such thing as free daycare.
Right. But luckily for me, moving back here, it has been. So that's an expense that I definitely don't have.
I hear you on that. I still maintain there's no such thing as free daycare. There's always, I don't know, for me at least, some guilt involved somewhere. You pay for it down the line.
For sure. It's going to come eventually.
So why don't you tell the listeners about yourself?
Yeah, so a lot about me. So I'm a former athlete, played collegiate ball, and then dabbled into it professionally a little bit. After my professional career, I dove into storytelling. I just love telling stories. That's something that was something about me ever since I was younger.
That's awesome.
Started from my grandmother's.
You're talking to your peers here. We all love stories.
Yeah, you see me. Hey, ever since I was younger, like my grandmothers, it's just all our conversations is derived around storytelling. And so literally after I got done hanging up my cleats, I wanted to feel some type of connection with not only myself, but my peers as well. And that's what led me to it. So right now, that's what I'm currently doing, working on finishing the long task of publishing my book. So let's get that out there. But yeah, so now I'm having an educational program as well, which helps student athletes basically learn themselves as a product, understanding their target audience, and then also how to leverage themselves to quote unquote sell themselves to the collegiate university so that they can be able to get their education paid for and also be able to play the game they love as well. So that's what I do too.
That sounds like a noble endeavor. I feel like kind of, it's kind of a shame that that's what our civilization has gone to, that you have to literally market yourself as a product in order to like get ahead.
Yeah.
Um, but good for you to teach them how to do it young rather than learning it
For
late.
real though. Yeah, definitely.
So you're finishing up your first novel. It has been written, correct?
Yep,
What's it
it's been
about?
written. So it's a memoir. So it's
Oh,
about my
okay.
mother. So my mother, before she had passed away in 2016, the latter part of her life, she was right. She was trying to publish her own book, and so
Okay.
obviously, unfortunately, in the event where she passed away, she wasn't able to. So me, I'm like, okay, well, let me pick up the sticks and go ahead and make some fire out of it. And so that's what I've been doing. So I got all her journals that she wrote, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just adding in the additional layers to make it whole. Um,
Right.
and so that's what I'm doing right now. So I've been working on it for probably about a year or so now, and just trying to wrap it on up so it can be a gift to the world.
I'm very interested in that. I have a sort of similar experience. My dad's father, at the end of his life, decided to write his own memoir, and he gave it to us unfinished,
Mm,
to my dad, and then my dad gave me a copy, and it was so eye-opening. Like, I didn't know he lived this life. And then I the town where we lived in, we all lived in the same town, was hit by a flood back in like 2011 or something. Lost, like, it was the only electronic version, like we lost the like the multiple hard drives it was on, like just we lost that story.
mm,
So I know, we can never get,
mm,
like, it only lives
mm.
in my memory now, and I've often thought about trying to write it down, but I know I get things wrong. So I always find this topic interesting, like another family member who can do that. But it sounds
Yeah.
like you have more material to work with, like you have raw material
Hmm.
and journals and things to work with,
Yeah.
and that's awesome.
It is. It's a delight because honestly, when I was reading over it, I'm like, man, I didn't really. I mean, I knew what she was going through because I was there in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, but I was too young too to really
Right.
kind of know. And
Mm-hmm.
so now looking at it, it's from a whole different perspective. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And so,
Right, as an
yeah,
adult,
just like you
looking at
said,
her as an adult instead of just your mother.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, wow. And the funny part about it was not really funny, but the crazy part about it is that once I, told the world like, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing, a lot of women reached out to me stating the fact that they had lupus. And that was eye opening for me. I was like, wow,
Okay.
because my mother, she suffered through lupus.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm like, what in the world? Like, I didn't know. I mean, I never really paid attention to it. And it
Mm-hmm.
caused me to do a lot of research and stuff like that on my own. And I became this basically guy to go to for the women in that field, as far as like
Mm-hmm.
that's going through those struggles, to hear my mom's story of how she overcame it. And so it can give them strength to keep progressing in their situation. So I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And so I feel like it's my duty to like continue
Mm-hmm.
on to publish it, to get it out there. And so that's why I'm like so excited about it. Because not only is this on allow me to get this one out there, but also start on another project afterwards. And so basically all my writings are going to be inspired by true stories. So obviously this writing right now is going to be like just real life stuff. And
Right,
so
right.
the next additional writings I'm gonna do is gonna be based off of true stories, but I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
make it fiction somewhat, so where uh, it's a relatable like storyline. However, it's gonna be fiction. It's not gonna be people like real names and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
that. It's gonna be fictitious and stuff. So I'm interested into working on that, and that's what comes along with the title of this recording.
So, what is your working title?
So with my mom's, her title is called 24, and the subtitle is uh, My Life's Journey Through Being a Mom, Lupus, and a Kidney Transplant. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
why I just wanted 24, it's like a conversation starter. It's like, what's 24? So that
Right.
automatically,
That's the
boom,
first
what's
question in my
24?
mind is why 24?
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, when I was born, that's when she first, like, officially been diagnosed with lupus. And so she
Okay.
lived 24 years, with that disease and with
Mm-hmm.
that diagnosis. So that's the length of time she lived throughout my life. It was
Mm-hmm.
24 years from the diagnosis till she passed away. But also it's a double entendre. It's basically you have 24 hours in a day. In her mission in her life, she lived every hour of the day like it was her last. And so that's like the message of the book is like, you never know when your time is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And so live every hour, live every day, live every moment as if this is your last. And so that's sort of like the corresponding message around the whole book.
Okay. That's your theme then.
Yeah. So it's pretty, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that the first title you've gone through, or do you consider it your working title, or do you consider it your final title?
Oh, I consider it my final title because I had submitted the cover and all that. So definitely my final title. I'm going with I'm
Can't
done.
change that one
Final
now.
title for sure. Yeah, man, I was going through. I I didn't second guess the title name. I just
Mm-hmm.
second guessed the layout of it because at first I wasn't gonna do no subtitle. I was just gonna put uh tally marks. And then once it got to the 24th tally mark, or so once it got to the 25th tally mark, it was going to be
Mm-hmm.
like an erased sketch at the last line because she didn't make it to the 25th tally mark. It was only the 24th. So I was thinking about doing a like title of just the imagery of that. But then again, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, that's probably too much over people's heads. So I'm just going to stick 24, like, and that's going to have conversation. So the title has always been the same. It's just the thought around the title, how I'm going to place it, what's
Mm-hmm.
different.
I have to ask, are there 24 chapters?
So initially, yes, that was going to be it was going to be 24 chapters.
I know
Initially,
it seems like the
yes,
obvious thing to go to.
yeah, because I'm writing it right now, and it could be expanded to 24 chapters, but then the chapters will be so small as far as
Okay.
like. But then again, that I was thinking about that, like, man, I'm gonna put 24 chapters too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had it all written down, and I
And
was like,
chapter 25 is the epilogue.
yeah, and it's like, I don't want the chapters to be too small. But
Right.
then
Yeah.
again, I was like, well, what the heck? Like, it goes along with the theme, 24, and
Mm-hmm.
it's 24 chapters, So I was thinking that.
Okay. Well, great minds
Yes,
think alike.
yeah, we on the same frequency. Yeah, so we're good.
Well, you said your mom's book working title was 24. What's your other project's working title right now?
Oh man, so I have a couple, but the first one, I'm not sure of the working title yet. I'm thinking of calling it "The Missing Link" um,
Okay.
or
I
"Bridging the
love
Gap."
titles.
Yeah, I love titles too because I just wanted something. Because so my first idea was called "Missing Link." It's basically my upbringing. So now, growing up, I didn't have my father in my life, and so
Okay.
my stepfather, he had came into my life at the age of 9 years old, and I truly believe that he was the missing link to my life to get me to where I eventually
Okay.
came to be. And so the whole story was going to be narrated on you know uh, you know a fatherless kid and him growing up having all the hardships, whoop de whoop, and
Mm-hmm.
then someone stepping into his life, and it's obviously for the better good. And obviously, there's going to be stories wrapped within it, but basically, everybody has some type of missing link to take them from where they currently are right now to where they eventually want to be. And so we
Mm-hmm.
just got to find who that missing link is and identify with them so that we can grow. So it was just a play off of that. That
Mm-hmm.
missing link. Everybody has a missing link. It can be a father, cousin, nephew. It can be
Mm-hmm.
anything. But you just
It
got
was
to
my
find that
husband.
missing link and connect to it. Boom. Yep.
That's
So
okay. I like that. But it's working title right now, I guess.
yeah.
Working titles are weird. Do you find, well, at least I find that sometimes like I'll change the title in draft
Uh-huh.
2 because
Mm.
in draft 1 I'm still not sure where the story's going yet. But
Right,
then
right.
sometimes that working title just becomes the main title because I've lived with it so long, I can't think of it in any other
Right?
term than the working
At
title.
all. Yep.
Right.
I totally get you. Hmm.
Good. I'm glad somebody does.
Do you find it hard for the subtitles? Like you have the title. Do you feel like
Hmm.
you're forced to have a subtitle? Like from like you have a big title, and then you forced to have a subtitle. Like, why can't we just keep the title?
I find I need a subtitle for marketing purposes, but not maybe
Mm-hmm.
necessarily for maybe titling purposes. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely need to have some kind of like subheader, subtitle for marketing, just, I don't know, advertisement kind of deal.
Got you. Speaking of marketing, Uh, I know there's a lot of story people out there. What's going on as far as book tours? Have you ever been on a book tour? What's it
I
like?
have
How you
never been
set
on a
one
book
up? Things
tour.
of that.
I
Oh,
don't have the
I would want to go.
slightest idea.
Oh
I don't
man.
foresee book tours being in my future.
Why
I
not?
Well, I'm kind of pivoting. I started this podcast like
Hmm.
back in, I don't know, May 2021. I've lost track of years.
That's all I'm saying.
I
So
know.
basically, this year.
Yes, we're recording in October. So yes, I started this back in May. And I'd been working on my stories, and the one I finally released, I decided to release episodically. And then I got the bright
Mm.
idea, why don't I make that into a podcast?
Oh, that's clutch.
Yeah, so I've done that. I'm recording all the chapters. I have a couple released as of this moment. Only
Mm.
two released this. There'll be two released every week. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like that's a good direction for my stories to go. Is write them and then produce them, like basically like an audiobook,
Huh.
like direct to audiobook kind of deal.
That is interesting, honestly. Like
I don't know. Is
and
interesting
making it
good?
like a YouTube series in a way, but it's a
Basically,
podcast series.
yeah.
But
Like an audio series.
huh,
With
wow, that
I've done a lot of work on the back end, like music mixing, sounds.
yeah,
I have a dead
man,
mother talking through part of it, so I have to like mix up my voice to make it sound kind of ghostly and a deeper pitch and stuff. It's been a learning journey.
wow, man, you got my mind
I got
churning right
your
now as
gears
far as like the
turning.
ideas. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like man, that's hmm. So do you well obviously you read it word for word, I'm assuming, but I was thinking
Mhm.
of it maybe like not a TED talk, but something scripted. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as how
Uh-huh.
you're positioning it, or is it
What
just like how you are right now?
I basically like I sit in front of my microphone, I pull up my story, and I generally read it word for word. I do find myself like throwing in some ad libs like in the moment that feel
Hmm.
good, which I'm not sure is
Yeah.
actually good in the long run, but I do find myself doing that. So it's not
Yeah.
exactly word for word. And then afterwards I do a little like back to my normal voice. Hey, this was the inspiration for this chapter. This was the inspiration for this character. Something like kind of like behind the
Mm.
scenes author's notes kind of deal.
Okay. What got you into writing? Like you personally?
Hmm. I I had a rough childhood,
Hmm.
and that meant I moved around a bit, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends, so I read a lot.
Mm.
And that's where it came from. I had so many stories that I read, and then I started making up my own stories,
Yeah.
and eventually I would go crazy if I didn't get the stories out.
What would you say your favorite book is from all the stories that you read? Like, what would you say your favorite book is at
Oh,
this moment? I know.
that's
Well, I
hard.
can't say favorite. I'll say at least a top three.
Okay. Um, wow, top three. That's still really hard. Okay, well, I really love I'm gonna say way more than three. I apologize.
Oh shoot,
Um
it's all good.
I really love the Expanse series. They're science
Never
fiction.
heard.
There's like 7 or 8 novels. They're like a spaghetti western in space. It just speaks to my
Mm,
comfort zone, and I love reading them.
yeah.
And I've really come to like the characters. I'm not as much of a fan as of the. They made a TV series on it out of it. I think
Uh-huh.
it's on Amazon. I'm not as big a fan of that one. They kind of like jumble up the story a little bit, and I don't like that.
Mm, yeah.
I'm a purist.
Yeah. Man, okay.
um, I also I really like I'm trying to like just I'm cycling through all the books I've read that I thought like,
Yeah.
wow, this is amazing. Like I recently
Right.
read Vicious by
Mm,
A.E. Schwab. I'm probably butchering that name, but it was really interesting. It came out a couple years ago. I'm probably like the last one in the world to read it. Um, it's told from like the villain's point of view. Like
mm,
a hero and a villain kind of grow up together, but the
hmm.
story is told from the villain's point of view, and the villain sees the quote unquote hero as the villain, but you know the other guy is the villain, or do you? Is he actually the hero? It was a really interesting
Mm,
concept, and I really liked the way the author played with it. And I really love The Starless Sea by Aaron
Mm.
Morgenstern. Again, I'm butchering
Mhm.
author. I'm sorry, authors, if for whatever reason you're
It's
listening to
all good.
this.
You purchased
I
y'all
really,
product, so it's all
yeah.
good.
I really like The Starless Sea. It's about a library that has magical doors that open in random
Mm,
places and then don't open again. Um, I don't know.
mm.
I like stories that are a little weird, I guess.
I mean, no, that's actually pretty cool though, as far as like different. It takes you, it definitely takes your mind into like a whole
Hmm.
different place for sure,
I,
without a
I
doubt.
definitely like
So,
stories that play with standardized
uh,
themes, I guess. Taking it back to
dang,
our story.
dang, that's pretty good. Hey, because I remember in college I did Greek mythology. There we go. So hearing
Oh,
those stories
that
was pretty
I
crazy.
love Greek mythology. I used to be like the biggest dork about Greek mythology. I
That's
used to
funny.
have this giant poster in my college dorm room. Like it took up almost the entire wall of like
Mm.
genealogy of Greek gods. I was such a
Yeah,
dork
I,
about
fa-
it.
I actually found that class like really interesting. So that
Hmm.
was definitely one of the classes I was not falling asleep in. So for sure,
What's your favorite book? What's your
man.
favorite? What I know, I'm putting you back on the spot. Same rules apply. It doesn't have to be the favorite, but give me a couple
Yeah.
you like.
Um. This may sound cliche. I like the Alchemist. I think that was pretty cool. It was about just a character finding their own personal legends. They go through all these stages within their life and
Hmm.
meeting different mentors and things of that nature. And ultimately, it was just the goal was that person finding their own personal legend of who and what he wants his life to be. So I thought that was pretty amazing.
That
It
sounds
was a
fun.
fiction
I've never
book
read that
too.
one.
Yeah, The Alchemist. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the next one is It's All in Your Head by a guy named Russ. It's a music artist. And
Okay.
basically he just goes through talking about his story and his journey through music and life and just basically saying how a lot of our fears in our head, I mean fears are it's just all in our head. And it's
Hmm.
something that we can always it's a self-help type book. And so I
Hmm.
thought it was pretty cool because it really is everything inside our heads, like as far as fear, it's invisible. It's just us, you know, um, being the one that's building up this wall when we don't need to. And so
Hmm.
I love that book
I
about
just
that.
talked to a woman who had a similar viewpoint. She was saying that everything we think is just stories we tell ourselves.
Right.
And that
That's crazy.
once you learn to separate the fact that you're just telling yourself a story about how you think or how you
Mm.
feel, it's much easier to deal with those feelings.
That's crazy to think about because you're right.
Hmm.
Like we build up this own imaginary. That's crazy. Yeah, we build up this own imaginary story that
Hmm.
brings us this certain type of feeling. Yeah, totally crazy.
Right. What else? What else did you like? Sorry, I interrupted you. What else do you like?
Nah, you're good. Man, as far as
It's hard,
at
isn't
top of
it?
my head, it is. Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm a newbie as far as like reading books. I
Hmm.
just started like my book journey as far as like 2 years ago. As far as like
Okay.
making sure I read books. Um, but that one really stuck out. I'm trying to think of this other one. Oh, it's gonna make me mad. I forgot the title and all. Dang, it's gonna
What's
make
it
me mad.
about? What genre is it?
I don't
Uh
see. I don't really be knowing about I don't really pick books about
huh.
dang certain genre or anything. I forgot the name. Oh my
Don't you
god!
hate it when that happens?
It was literally right on the cusp of my
Uh huh.
mind, and it just went away. But
My brain does that
man,
a lot. Like I'll be talking to
I
my
hate
husband in
that.
mid conversation. I forgot Dave Chappelle's name. Like we had it
No
was a
way.
conversation about Dave Chappelle, and in the middle of the conversation, I forgot his name. Like my brain just was
Oh
like,
wow.
nope, I don't remember that anymore.
See, you're gonna make me have to go to the garage and take out my bookcase. Let me ask you this question.
Uh
Speaking
huh.
about bookcase, because that just popped in my head. Did you buy a bookcase just so that you could fill it up now, or did you always have bookcases around growing up? Because the reason why I asked that because growing up, I never had a bookcase, and so
Mm
it never was appealing to me to even read. To be honest with you, the only
hmm. Mm
time I
hmm.
really read was in school, and I
Uh
hardly
huh.
did that. And until like we moved into our house and we had a bookcase, And my wife, she loves Harry Potter. Like that's her freaking
Yes.
ultimate
Harry
favorite.
Potter. Yes, we all love it. Yeah.
Yes, she loves Harry Potter. And so, she got these bookcases, and I'm like, man, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I want to contribute to it too. So,
Mm-hmm.
I just started buying one book at a time, reading it, and now,
Right.
shoot, I got about 30, 40 books already, like, to myself. And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's pretty cool. But
Nice.
like for you, like, did your family, like, approach you with, like, hey, you got to read books? Like, what made you on your own to just start reading? I know it's your background, but like, did someone in your family or your household, just your husband, start reading books and it
Mm.
made you start? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have two answers to that. One, your first one was like buying a bookcase. I want to share the story that I bought a house because it had built-in bookshelves all over the
Oh,
place.
wow.
Yeah, that's how crazy it went. Is that we bought a house
Dang.
because it had bookshelves. But no, I started reading because my dad had a library, a small library of like science fiction fantasy. That's probably why I like
Mhm.
science fiction fantasy.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, and I just kind of started. He one day just threw a book at me and said, "Hey, I want you to read this summer." Um,
Mm.
and I was basically hooked after that. I mean, I just read his entire library. I wasn't supposed to because
Mhm.
they were adult
Yeah.
books, but I did it. And then
Mhm.
I stole several of those books. They now are in my house. Uh,
Oh,
he still brings it up. And he listened to this, so now he'll know. I finally
he's
admitted
like,
that I
I
do
need
own.
them
I have
books
some of those
back.
books. Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, my dad had a collection, and then I kind of absorbed that collection and
Mhm.
way added to it. I
Mm.
don't.
See.
We bought this house for the bookshelves. I have filled them all up
Mhm.
twice over. Basically, there's books on top of books,
Wow.
and I now have books in piles. Like there's a book of like 6 books sitting next to me on my desk because I don't have room for them anywhere else.
Man,
I have an
that's crazy.
addiction.
So,
Yeah.
man, when you are reading your books, um, it probably, I don't know if it applies to you, but when you're reading your books, are you a highlighter, or
No.
are you a
Mm-mm.
person that folds pages? Are you a person that, in the beginning of the book you write down the page number or give a summarization? Are you at that type of reader, or do you have like the
Mm-mm.
stickies that you pull? So you just
It's just all in my
just
head.
go, oh man, wow, that's crazy to think. Wow.
I feel like that wasn't the answer you were expecting.
Because, well, maybe because it's the type of books. Because like the books I read
It,
is
it
more
could be the
like
type of books.
self
Mine are
help.
more like
Yeah.
escapists. Like I read them to kind of get out of my crazy stressful life. Back
Uh-huh.
when I was in college, or I was working on degrees, my academic books, I was definitely like post-it
Mhm.
notes all over the place, and post-it notes had notes
Yeah.
on them. And then I had a
Yep.
separate notebook that would reference the post-its. And eventually I
Hmm.
started a numbering system. Academic books are different, but reading for pleasure books are just all in
Ooh,
my head.
man. So what degree? You mentioned you had degrees. What did you study in?
I actually went for art history. It has done me a
Mhm.
boatload of good at this point. I have never used that degree.
Really?
It was a
I was
complete
gonna say, like, I
waste.
gotta be sarcastic because I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Man.
I actually really regret the college experience, other than just learning to be a young adult on my own. I mean,
Mhm.
that part was invaluable, but the rest of the college experience, I personally
Mm.
regret. I don't feel like I got
Mm.
anything out of it. I was already such a
Man,
voracious
that's
reader,
true.
uh, and I have basically done nothing with it. After college, I went into advertising, and then I
Uh-huh.
was a COO of a small company for a while, and then I had kids and
Mhm.
just dropped it all, and now I'm writing professionally when I was always writing in my free time before.
What would you go back to school for, knowing what you know now or experience?
Marketing.
Marketing?
Marketing,
Gotcha.
100% marketing. I mean,
Mm.
it doesn't make any sense, that answer, if you think about it, because if I turn back time and go into marketing back
Mhm.
in, like, I don't know, when did I go to college? The early 2000s.
Uh-huh.
Um, Marketing as of then does not apply to marketing now, but that is the
Mm.
part where I need the most help in my life is marketing.
Gotcha.
Is
Man, that's
managing.
crazy.
I can manage the business side of it, no problem. I mean, that's
Uh-huh.
my brain just works well with that. But the marketing side of it, I feel like I'm constantly scrambling to just
Mm.
keep up.
Man, that's crazy to think about. Yeah, because I totally agree with you on the part. Like, if I were to go back to school, what would I do differently as far as the areas I studied in? Because my first degree was human development and family studies, and
Mm-hmm.
then my second degree was economics. And so I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
back, like, man, I wish I would have. Me personally, I'm more of on the creative side, so I'm like, man, I wish I would have done something more artistically.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, whatever that may have been. I don't know,
Yeah, I
but
don't know. I kind of agree with you, and I don't know what that would be.
yeah, it's like, what is it? And so,
Mm-hmm.
I had a good time there. I mean, I don't, but if I had to go back, I think I would change, some courses that I took.
Mm-hmm.
The one I really enjoyed was human development family studies. That probably was the one I enjoyed the most. I just got economics because they said, hey, that's a solid degree that
Mm-hmm. Yes.
it's very credible,
It's kind of like business. Like it's you're not going to go
yeah.
wrong with a business degree. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
So that's why I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and get that. It's free. Let me go ahead and get that too. So yeah.
Man, economics, my brain is not built for that side of things. Like taking
Mm-mm.
college like math courses, I just no, I forget which side is which. Like I forget which is left and which is right, but I am totally the creative side and less of the like
Yes,
analytical side.
man. What do you call the person that's in the middle? Because like I'm sort of both in a way. Like I'm very analytical, but I'm also
Uh-huh.
creative. Like I'm like dead smack in the middle. I'm like both. I don't know what you call it.
I don't know. My dad has a word for it or a name for it, and I don't remember what he calls it now. But yeah, I know what I know what you're talking about. Where you're kind of like there's like this weird. I think this test has been discredited, but there was this test where like it's four
Mhm.
squares, and like your personality is a dot in it, and like he
Gotcha.
is was very proud that his dot was more towards the middle, where he was kind of like
Mm.
average, like kind of I don't know, like Renaissance man kind of deal.
Right.
Um, I forgot the name of that test, but yeah, I don't know the name of it in the long run.
Man. Yeah, see that? Yeah, it's weird. Like, man. So speaking of like creative time, like what is your go-to as far as like getting away and writing? Do you go to a coffee
Aw,
shop and
you read my
get
next
mocha
question.
latte? Oh shoot. That's what I was gonna say. Like what is it? Like what is your go-to?
Okay, I'll answer if you answer. My creative time is while the kids are at school. I sit down
Mhm.
with a cup of coffee and some good music and just kind of go to work.
Wow. So you're able to like I find that hard because I can't like as far as music, like I
Mm-hmm.
can't write with music, like what I'm saying, because I don't
Uh-huh.
know, I just can't
I
do it.
can't write with silence. Because it's never
Wow, that's
completely silent in my house because I got two big
uh,
dogs who like to wrestle and things.
yeah,
So I need the headphones on, like
yeah,
sound dampening. And like 3 days a week, my husband works from home. So very loud
hmm
conferences on the other end of the house that I can hear word for word. So I
yeah.
need the headphones on and some kind of sound pumping into my ears to block everything else out.
Wow, that's crazy to think. And it doesn't bother you at all as far as the other, I don't like the music playing and like you writing. It doesn't bother you at all.
It depends on the music, but generally no.
What music you listen to? Lo-fi, jazz?
I like lo-fi a lot. I find it's
Yeah.
very unobtrusive when I'm writing. Like I don't get caught up
Mhm.
in the emotion of the music because sometimes
Right.
if I need to write a certain like type of scene, I'll search out a certain kind of emotion for the music,
Mm.
like something that might be fast paced or something that might be like edgy. Like
Hmm.
if I need to create that emotion, it's easier to do it with that music in my head. But I do like lo-fi that
Wow.
is very unobtrusive. I can write kind of almost anything with it.
I didn't even think about it from that point of view as far as like say for instance you're doing a sad scene, putting
Mm-hmm.
on sad music to like kind
Yep.
of I didn't even think about. That's wow. That's crazy to think about. Like that's hey, that would help. Because like
It
for me,
does.
I have to be like silent. Like I
Okay.
have to be like sit in the moment. Like for me, it has to be dead silent to where it's like for me, the best times are like super late at night or
Mm-hmm.
super early in the morning to where
Mm-hmm.
nothing, like I can hear the the silent, the
Like
air coming
air
out my vents,
conditioning?
like just
Yeah.
silent, like, and then that's where I feel like I can actually sit and soak in the moment till I actually write. It's weird. I don't know if your process
I
is like
I
this, but
kind of
like,
I kind of agree with that because I do in order to be able to sit down and write for like 2 hours
mm,
straight, I do a lot of thinking like before I fall asleep at night in a silent room, well,
mm,
with white noise or something, but yeah, I
yeah,
do a lot of pre-thinking in that silent
yeah,
stage, so I do agree with that.
yeah. And that's crazy, and that causes me to not go to sleep because I be thinking so
Uh-huh.
much. Like
Yep.
while I'm laying in bed, I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the scenes in my head. I'm like, okay, and I don't know about you, but before you put the pen to the paper or the fingers to the keyboard, uh, when you pre-write, do you like envision the scene first, collect all your thoughts first, and then put it down, or are you a person that just write or type as you go?
Well, I've laid it out in an outline first, so I know the
Hmm.
goal of the. I'm usually thinking in chapters. I know the
Hmm.
goal of the chapter. I know where it needs to end. Like I know where it needs to end up. But when I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of like I guess playing it like a movie in my head. But I'll
Hmm.
try different avenues to figure out which one feels the most natural way to get to that point.
Right. Yeah. That's I swear it's all about movies. That's what I think about. How can I
Mm-hmm.
make this chapter a movie? That's really
Mm-hmm.
what that goes in my mind. So I think about it, sit in silence, just recollect that movie in my head,
Mm-hmm.
then I put it to the paper. So yeah,
Yeah.
I found
Um.
that interesting.
Well, I have more to say on that, but I also need to ask you the same question.
Oh shoot, my bad.
Because you stole my question.
Ah, man, my bad. But yeah, for me, I might incorporate like the music thing just to see like a different blend
Mm-hmm.
and like what it does because I'm not gonna knock it till I try it. So I'm actually probably gonna do that as far as
Okay.
just different type of emotions. I'm gonna try to see if that works. But for me, I have to sit in silence or sit still in the moment and then I'll be able to do it. Other than that,
Okay.
I'll get so distracted and all that.
Yeah. I actually I have to use I use an app with my writing called Flow. I'm on a Mac and I don't know
Mhm.
if it's a Windows program too, but basically I can set it to block out certain applications. So it tells me I have
What?
it's basically like a countdown timer. I start with 25 minutes
Hmm.
and it won't let me do
Gotcha.
anything but write and listen to whatever
Wow.
music I happen to currently have playing. And then it'll give me a
Hmm.
5 minute break and then I can like go to Chrome, check my email, and then after 5 minutes it turns that back off and makes me write again.
Wow.
It's very
So
helpful.
speaking of time block, is that your block time? Like, hey, you go 25, you stop, you recollect your thoughts 25, or do you burn through the whole 2 hours just writing?
25, 5, 25, 5, 25, 5. I usually do it for about 100 minutes and go through 4 blocks of 25.
Okay. So yeah, so you won't get burnt out. Man,
Hmm. And like
because
those 5 minute
yeah,
breaks are helpful for like getting a new coffee, going to the bathroom, letting the dogs outside, just,
stretching.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Standing up, moving around, and then getting right back. Sometimes I do cheat and there is an option to skip the break. And sometimes if
Uh-huh.
I'm literally in the middle of a thought, I'll skip the break and then just keep working. But then I just get
Mm.
so caught up. And again, I forget to pause it and take my break.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's cool. I'm gonna start because man, I'm like, okay, I have this block of time, so I'm trying to blast through it,
Uh
and I
huh.
don't really give myself any breaks. And so I'm gonna incorporate that in mind. To be honest with you, just scheduling out just blocks. Like, hey, 30-minute block, have a time because I feel like, man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna miss something or it's not enough
Right.
time. So I like that. I like that. It gives you it's just like in working out. Like you can't
Uh
just
huh.
bench press freaking 50 times in a
No.
row. Like you're gonna burn out at 20 something. So doing it within sets, I think that is
Mm-hmm.
effective.
That 5 minute break, it's just long enough to like refresh, but not long enough to lose your thought.
Mm, that's real. And I'm not a coffee drinker, and I'm thinking I might have to dive into some coffee.
I
Me,
can't
I
write without a
use
hot
a
cup of something.
man like maybe that I don't know. I never really tried coffee to the fullest. I'm a energy drinker. I like
Mm-hmm.
not the ones that have like sugar and stuff, like Bang
Right.
Energy. I love those. Those are good at 0 calories and stuff. But I might have to because people always talk about, man, you gotta get into coffee. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I I guess I'm gonna have to try it one day.
I'm a weirdo. I can't have caffeine. I have a
Mm,
sensitivity towards it. So I drink
mm,
coffee for the flavor.
gotcha.
So I drink the decaf stuff or
Hmm.
the commercially processed stuff that just gives me the coffee flavor without the actual coffee. What's your what does your writing schedule look like? What's your writing routine? Like, do you have a set
So for
time every day you try to do it?
Yeah, so for me, lately it's been late nights. So after we put the girls to sleep, because my
Mm-hmm.
youngest, she's about to be 1 in December, and so she goes to sleep
Oh,
around
that's so
8:30.
cute.
Yes, this girl, ooh, she's a busy bee. And
I
then
remember those
about to
days.
be 4-year-old, yeah, oh yeah, because you got two, yeah, you got kids
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Young was
4 and 5.
and so, whew, yeah, the four my 4-year-old, man, she is something. She turns 4 in literally about a couple weeks. I'm looking at it,
Okay.
but we put those girls to bed. Obviously, you got to have time with your spouse. You know, making sure
Mm-hmm.
that maybe you know, recap the day, some type of moment with your
You need
spouse,
some
right?
kind of
And
connection.
then
You're the only two adults in the house. You need some kind of connection. You need a
exactly.
united front.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I'll wait until I hear her start snoring or something, and then I'll kind of just slip on out of there and go to this room right here, and you know, just open up the laptop, and you know, just start typing away. So it really it's around 11ish, 12ish where I get it,
Mm-hmm.
or I've been lazy. I've been thinking about switching it to the beginning of the morning so I can
Mm-hmm.
sleep a little bit and do it at like 5 in the morning. I tried to do it this morning. Man, I hit the snooze button so fast it was crazy.
Yeah.
You would have thought the phone was attached to my finger because man. But yeah, for me, I'm a night owl. I love
Mm-hmm.
just homing through the night. It's like I get a second energy. It's crazy.
It is. I work best actually in those early morning hours, but I like sleep
Mm.
a lot, and it's really hard for me to like break past that alarm like wall and actually get
Woo.
up and do the work. It's so hard.
Man,
But I actually work best
see,
then, so it's like a weird double-edged sword. I know I should do it, but I
man,
just cannot make myself get out of bed.
man. So someone, I was talking to someone today. It was like, how come you don't wake up, go work out, and then write? And I'm like, I'm gonna be too tired from the workout, and I'm gonna go to sleep. And so I was like, but he was talking about, you know, but your mind will be running and stuff like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's true. But yeah.
I might agree with that. What do you do when you work out? What's your workout routine, I guess? So what kind of exercises are you doing? Are you doing something monotonous
So
like that you can think
yeah,
about while you're doing that? Or is it something you need your mind
yeah.
in the
So
moment?
that's true. So it's like when I haven't been in a little bit, I ain't gonna lie, but when I start going back again, I hop on the bike for a little bit just to get my body warmed up, get
Mhm.
acclimated to like, okay, you're about to start working out.
Mhm.
And then, you know, depending on the day, I'll do upper body or lower body. And then from there,
Okay.
it's just, you know, the regular routines, working out the upper body muscles or the lower body muscles. And then, you know, just head home after that, get a quick breakfast, you know, and, you know, start my day.
Okay. I don't, at least from my personal experience, I know when I'm doing something monotonous, like if I'm on the treadmill or something, that's a
Mhm.
really good time for me just to zone out and think about my
Mm.
story. But then on the other end of it, if I'm doing something like I do also like aerobic workouts that are like
Mm.
video oriented, like I'm looking at something,
Uh-huh.
reacting to something, there is no space in my mind for story at that
At
point. So
all.
it really depends, but it's kind of like laying in bed thinking about your story while I'm on the treadmill, just kind of just thinking about it, mulling things over, and then while it's still fresh in my mind, jot down a few ideas.
Mhm. Right. Man, see, yeah, yeah, that is true, especially if it's a monotonous workout like a treadmill or a bike or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Not
Right.
a Peloton, a regular
No.
stationary bike that don't have a screen.
Right.
That's for
It's
sure.
something you don't have to think about that your mind can wander while your body does this repetitious thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we should start talking about theme here at the end of the podcast.
Dang. Yeah. So how about you go ahead and jumpstart us off, Deb? Let's how about you start it off as far as the theme. What's your thoughts
well,
around it?
I had a question. I was wondering, how do you come up with theme? Like, what's your process for a theme? Do you start out with a
Hmm.
theme, or does theme come later, or do you discover a theme along the way? That's the main question here. I think a lot of writers
Mm.
struggle with.
You know, that is tough. Um, that is tough. Ah, for me, I have to go. Man, theme is tough.
Theme is
That
hard.
is a
I think
tough thing.
theme is the hardest part about writing a story.
Yeah, it's like, dang, what do I want? Yeah, it is. It is tough. Hey, yeah, that's tough. But for me, well, I guess mine was kind of a cheated theme in a way because my
Uh-huh.
mom already did her thing with it, and so I
Right.
just felt as though that was the message and the theme that needed to be on that book. But
Mm-hmm.
with the books that I'm going to do, because I'm gonna start for me, I'm gonna try to get a book a year. I'm gonna try
Mm-hmm.
to. I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen, but try to at least get a book a year, get in the mode of it. But as far as a theme, just trying to figure out like something that inspires me through life experience, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, there's a lot of things that inspire me, and so just trying to figure out underlying for me, my type of style is like something that's inspirational, like self-help type stuff. So it's just like
Right.
listening to different TED Talks
Okay.
or
So
like
we're coming at
podcasts. And
theme from different angles, I think.
yeah. So for me, it's just like some experiences that I went through or seen somebody go through and how I can uh incorporate it into my own. Like for instance, my friend, he did a he did a book. I think that I'm gonna butcher his title, but basically, um, dang it, I'm gonna butcher his title. But the I want to say it was the engine with no hood or something like that, or the
Okay.
hood with no engine or something like that. And I
Okay.
thought it was like a pretty the way the title sounded way better than what I said it. But I thought it was pretty cool because basically he was basically going just talking about the life circumstances because he's involved in the street life and basically uh he was the analogy was like a car engine inside the hood and him being the engine in the hood or whatever it was. But I
Okay.
thought that thing was
Okay.
pretty
And without
cool.
a
It's just
hood, then it's
motivational.
exposed to the elements. And okay, I get where you're going
Yeah,
then.
so I thought that was pretty cool. So that's like kind of my form. It's like, okay, what can I figure out that's inspiring? It has a catchy twine to it as far as how I can
Mm-hmm.
maneuver the title. And then around a theme, I just try to find something that's inspirational,
Okay.
or experiential, like something that someone can relate to it.
Right. That makes sense for that
So
genre. Yeah.
yeah, so that's my genre.
Uh, well, I write fiction, so I find I actually don't know the theme when I start out. I have to get
Oh
through at
shoot.
least the first draft. Like I have a story in my head and I have to write it
Mhm.
down, and then I figure out what the theme is, and then I
Huh.
edit it to kind of match the theme. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yeah. I dang, yeah. So like how do you figure because you say you start off with a story and then as you go and edit
I
it,
have
you
the
figure out the
story
theme.
elements in my head and I develop it into a story with like a plot outline kind of deal. And then I write the first draft. And the first draft kind of meanders a bit, like you don't know,
Mhm.
like you don't have a solid track for your character yet because you're still figuring it out. And that's
Mhm.
at the end when I go back through and I read it, that's when I figure out what the theme is because some theme will
Mm.
stand out above the rest. But then that means I need to go
Right.
cut all that extra like just crap off of
Yeah.
it to make it a solid
Yeah.
story going forward.
Man, you just sparked something that I was thinking about earlier. So I'm pretty sure your kids as well watched this movie called
Mm-hmm.
Monsters Inc.
Yes.
That's the
Uh-huh.
movie. And so and so like I was watching it the other day and obviously it's mental health awareness week and month and things of that nature. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was talking to somebody and the topic was like everybody has monsters and the thought that came into my head was just a scene from the movie. Well, the scene was, obviously Sully. Everybody knows the big blue hairy monster
Right.
that comes out the closet, and the
Mm-hmm.
guy is scared of the monster. But but what he was talking about, referring to, is that monster is actually ourselves, and we're scared to face our own monsters and our own demons or whatever to make us, our own lives better. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shoot. So he was talking to me about maybe setting the theme around, facing your own fears and your own monsters and
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. I was like, dang, that's pretty crazy. But it was based off of, me talking about how my daughters love monsters, like the
Mm-hmm.
Monsters Inc. the movie. And so it's just
Right.
weird how that just intertwined into its own little meaning. So we'll see how that goes. I might steal it from them.
It sounds like an
Great
interesting
Artificial
idea
Steelers.
that, the monster in the closet, we
Mhm.
have things that we maybe don't want to face and we hide away and then we're constantly scared of them because we don't want to face them. I could
Yep.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so and then the next thing is figuring out some type of catchy title to it, and something that will spark a conversation like, what is
Hmm.
the meaning behind this? Something
Do
like
you use
that.
the
So
title to get yourself going in the story?
yeah, I love using titles. I figure so my thing is like with the title, it's like I always ask myself, what's gonna start a conversation? And so that's
Mm-hmm.
how I base my title around. And that's the same thing with the chapters within the book too. It's like, okay, what can start a conversation about? What do you mean by that title? So I always try to
Right.
figure out my titles to be such like that, so it could be a conversation starter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
yeah. What
Hmm.
about you though? Did you got something on
Titles?
your mind? Yeah.
Oh no, I was just mulling over again how much I dislike one of my titles, but it's kind of stuck now. Um,
You got to
it,
go with it. Yeah, it's like
yeah, you
you
just
got to
kind of
go
have
with
to
it.
keep moving with it. I
Yeah.
wish there was a way I could change it, but I don't know what to change it to. Like I can't. I have never found anything else that fits it. That's a really hard. And now that I've started the podcast about it and it's already launching on episodically, I can't change the title, obviously. But I just always mull of the fact that
Dang.
I think I always hate my stories when they're done, which is kind of weird to say, but like when I'm reading it out loud, I'm like, oh, I want to change this. But at some point you just have to
Oh
move
my God.
on. At some point you're done.
Whew. That's the toughest part, I would say, because you never actually feel like you're
It's
done. It's
finished.
like, dang.
Right. You could always
Oh
change it and make
man.
it better, but at some point you just need to
Yeah.
say no and just keep going forward or you'll never finish the story.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy you said that. That's crazy.
It's a
Man,
universal
because
truth with
you're right.
writers.
Man, because I'm like, dang, it sounds like it's done, but I don't feel like it's done. But then again, it
Hmm.
is done. Like it's crazy. It's like a revolving door. So like I'll finish it today. I'm like, okay, it sounds great. I come back a day or two later. I need to change it just a little bit. And then
Yeah.
I feel like, man, it's crazy.
I I had another author on the podcast a while back. His name was Riley Toon, and he said
Mhm.
he like knew somebody who was either like on their 19th revision of a story that they hadn't published yet, and
Uh-huh.
it was just like that's 19. No, like
Mm.
at some point
Dang,
you just gotta just
19.
either throw it away or put it out in the world. I mean, 19 is way too many.
19?
I'm pretty
That's
sure
wild.
it was either 9 or 19, but I feel like it was something really crazy like 19.
Dang. Let me ask you this. Like when you were beginning, um, do you feel like I know this might be going off on like a whole different angle, but like
Oh no, we've already gone off
when
in tangents. This is fine.
like when you're writings, like you have a certain way that you envision it to be. And so like do you feel like giving it to someone else to proofread or look over it
Hmm.
may kind of
Be
mess
the
up
scariest thing in the
what you're,
world.
it's
Yeah.
like so like I don't know. I just feel like if I did, want to, because I know how I want it to feel. I know exactly how I want
Hmm.
to portray. But I feel like if I were to, hey, can you revise this? They won't have the same feeling as I felt when I was writing it, so
Hmm.
they wouldn't see it as that. And I'm like, do other people feel that same feeling when they're in that mode of thinking about giving it to somebody else to proofread or revise it for
Um. Well, I've got two answers to that question. Well, maybe they're not answers. I
them?
have two opinions on that question.
Mm.
Um, One is you got to hire the right people. Someone
Mhm.
who will you explain your theme and the tones you're going for, and they can help you
Hmm.
towards that, or that they're just professional and they just do like grammar and spelling, that kind of check, and they
Gotcha.
leave the emotion all alone. I mean, you got two types of editors there. Um,
Hmm.
my other opinion about this is once you get past that stage and you have had someone edit it, um, and then you put it out in the world for somebody else to read and experience, I think that's half the fun of being an author, because someone's going to interpret your story differently and it's going to mean something different
Hmm.
to them on a personal level.
That's true. Ooh, that's true. You ain't lying. That's true. Hey, yeah,
That's what
you're
writing
right.
is.
That's what's so, and that's what connected me with writing. Like, man, that's what connected me with writing. It's like I forgot who said something. I was looking at an interview and they were like, every time I could read one book, but every time I read the book, I get a new perspective of it. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm reading a new book every time. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, dang, that's crazy to think about. Like, wow.
That's happened to me, definitely. And I've had this experience firsthand, because I'm going to admit something on air that I probably should not admit. Um, my favorite book growing up was Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. And he has
Hmm.
gotten a shit ton of grief for very good reasons. But
Hmm.
that book meant so much to me, and I interpreted it in a completely different way than he intended it to be interpreted as, you know?
Hmm.
So he wrote it one way, thinking one thing, and then I, as a child, read it and interpreted it in a completely different direction, and it meant
Mm.
something different to me than what he intended it to mean.
Man, that's the that's the beauty of writing too. Shoot, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, it could be a gift and a curse. Shoot, you'd be
I
like, "No,
know.
I didn't mean it like that," and then someone's
Right.
like, "No, you did." Like, how you gonna tell me what I felt when I was writing it? Because that's the way I feel by reading it. Like, ah, shoot, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yeah,
messed
it's
up.
going to mean something
That's crazy,
different to everybody.
man. That's crazy. That's crazy to think
Mm-hmm.
about. We are the most vulnerable, that's for sure, because we putting our thoughts and feelings out there, knowing that everybody's not gonna have the same thoughts and feelings per se.
Mm-hmm. It is scary putting a book out there for somebody else to read, because they might hate it, and that's like crushes your soul. Like that's like, oh, that was part of me and you hate that. Like, you know? Like
Read
that's
it
just
again. Read it again.
right.
You gonna feel different.
Right. Like I dread my first negative review. I haven't gotten one yet, thankfully, you know, fingers crossed. Um,
I know,
but
right?
I
Knock
I
on
I
wood.
dread that happening, because that is, I'm gonna have a really bad week when that happens.
Mm.
Like there is gonna be ice cream and alcohol in my future that week. I just won't be able to handle it any other
Dang,
way.
man. Dang, that's man. Yeah, that's just the raw reality of it. You right. There's gonna be somebody that's gonna give a bad review. It's just
Hmm. Not
inevitable.
everybody's gonna
You
like
feel sure.
everything you do. Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
man. Dang. Shoot. So let me ask you this, because I know we're
Hmm.
probably at the tail end. How many books have you published? And yeah, I'll just ask you that question first. How many books have you published so far?
Just one.
Just one.
Yep.
And
Ask
you're
me how
about
many
to
books
do
I've
another
written.
one. Hold on, hold on. How many? Yeah, yeah, that's probably the interesting. How many books have you written?
I have written 4.
What the heck happened to them?
They were crap. I I feel like fiction's different than maybe what you're doing, like kind of the nonfiction, the memoir.
Hmm.
Like with fiction, there's a really big learning curve on how to tell a story and how to unwind a plot. And I did not do a good job. Like I, as a reader, can look back and say, nope, that wasn't good. I actually am gonna rework one of them into a better version
Uh,
of itself. But yeah, 4.
how did you find your own style? Like, how did you find like what you were good at as a writer? Like,
That
what
was
was best for you?
that was kind of difficult. Like I knew I write in the genre I read, because that's what I'm familiar with, obviously. But
Hmm.
finding your own voice inside that
Hmm.
is really hard, actually. Like I find myself constantly influenced by the people I am reading or have read. Like I get my tone mixed up with their tone. Um,
Mm.
I find that that's a difficult thing to overcome. That sometimes it gets to be too whimsical, and I'm like, and it doesn't fit in with the rest of the story, and then you have to edit it down. You know, stuff like that. Like,
Mm.
it, 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 That's very hard. That's actually one of the reasons why one of the stories never made it to light of day, because it jumped around, because I was
Mm,
constantly influenced by a show or something else I was reading.
yeah. Dang. That's wow. Well, you have your own self discovery throughout the process, which is
Yes.
pretty cool. Dang, you
Y-
wrote for my only published one. That's man.
It
Dang.
when you're done with the first one, you're like, man, this is great. I'm awesome. And then you kind of have
Yeah.
to like follow the advice of like, let it sit in a drawer for a couple months and then bring it back out. Well, in
Mm.
my case, on the hard drive, and then bring it back out. And you're just like, oh, did I write that? Really?
Did you format it yourself too? Like as
Uh
far
huh.
as, or did you send it to somebody else?
Oh no, I never even got to the point of sending it to somebody else. I got through like 2 revisions probably. I think
Man,
one has probably way more than 2 revisions because I kept redoing it and redoing it and redoing it. That's actually the one I'm going to
you made
redo
it.
again and make a new novel out of it.
It
Now that
made
I
it to
feel
that
like I
19th revision. That 19th revision. That's what it made it to.
No, I draw the line at
Shoot.
18. It'll never go past 18.
Yeah, he holds the record. That's Jenna's World Book right there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, crazy.
So
Mm.
this is your first one?
Yeah, it's my first one, and I purposely made this one my first one because I just had one to share that connection with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
because it's her
It
first one
means a
too. So
lot to
we're
you.
yeah, it's a co-author because there's a part where obviously she passes away, and then it
Mm-hmm.
goes to like my version of um perspective of the ending of her life because she did
Okay.
her journal was only till a certain point, and so I had to finish it off from that
Right.
certain point to the end of her life to kind of cap it all off. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's been a journey, and it's pretty cool because I had to collect stories from different people, like different family members, and so just have it like it was sort of like an interview to them. Like, hey, so
Mm-hmm.
this question, blah, 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 blah. And so
Yeah,
it was
like, do you
cool
remember
hearing their
when this
side of the
happened?
story.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I was like, man, I need to, and that's what gave me ideas for like my book outside of this one, which is gonna be the next one. Is like I want to start interviewing people and just have them share their story, just so I can get some uh, inspiration or I can learn through someone's experience and just map it in mine.
Mm-hmm.
Just so I can, just extra stories. You never can have enough stories in your
Mm-mm.
tool belt. So,
No.
so that's what I wanted to do too. So I figured that'd be cool.
How are you keeping track of all these things? Like, do you have folders on your hard drive? Do you have millions of mini notebooks? How are you keeping track of all
So
those?
for me, I'm just praying that nothing ever happens to Google Drive because that's where all my items are at. So as long as nobody hacks me, and Google Drive never goes away, that's where all my stuff is at. But I have my mom's physical journal. So like if anything, I can always go back to that foundation and we'll
Mm-hmm.
have to obviously start all over. But at least I would be at that point rather than absolutely nothing. So,
Mm-hmm.
but when I was collecting stories, for me, I had my iCloud, and so I would write down notes and stuff in my iCloud that I transfer to my
Right.
MacBook, and I could just copy and paste in the Google Drive, or I just put the Google Drive on my phone and do it as
Mm-hmm.
far as the Google Docs. And so I
Right.
love that part because I was working on it on the plane, working on it, wherever. So, um, but yeah, so that's where I put all my work. So don't nobody hack me, please. Google Washington don't hack me, or Google don't go away.
I don't think Google's going away anytime soon.
Shoot, I hope not, man.
So here's a
Mm-mm-mm.
tough question. What's the biggest failure you've had so far, according to the book?
According to
What's the
the
biggest
book,
setback?
um, man, that's tough.
Maybe not towards the book, but I mean, like just writing in general, being creative like that. What's the biggest setback you've experienced?
I think for me, as far as storytelling, I want to go into so much granular detail,
Mm-hmm.
like, and sometimes that's not needed as much. Like, I want to
Mm-hmm.
be like, hey, she was sitting in a room, she had on a white t-shirt, she had on some glasses, and behind her, she had a black fold, right? She was wearing these big headphones, you know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'd really like to go in granular, like, with the details, so like they can like actually envision themselves in that person. In that same seat as that person and feel the feelings. And sometimes, at the beginning I was going overboard and I was like, all right, let me shed some, fat off this steak. And so
Uh-huh.
I can make nice and tender and juicy. Um, and so I think that was my biggest thing in the beginning was going too much in detail about everything. Like literally, hey, it was
Mhm.
6 o'clock. It was 6 o'clock p.m. with 32 seconds. The wind was tailing. You could smell barbecue from the person that was 3 doors down. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just too much
Right.
detail. And I'm like, let me go ahead and just, give a high level overview. And on the parts where it needs detail to where I want
Mhm.
you to focus in on, do that.
Mhm.
And so I think that was my biggest hurdle in the beginning right there. It's just too much detail.
Okay. I can see that. I think that's an issue that a lot of especially newer writers come across is that they want to set the stage so badly that they just kind of do
Yeah.
everything. And I think it's a
Hmm.
hard lesson to learn that you only need what's going to move the story forward.
Say that again. Ooh, say
Uh-huh.
that again. That's real. That's
I
real
mean,
right there because
I,
that's
I've
true.
met like 60-year-old men who don't know this yet, that they only need what's going to move it. Like the only thing that's important is what's going to drive, in this case, plot forward, but in your case, story.
Yeah, that is super true. Oh my God. And another thing I had to think about for a memoir, I was trying to do it chronologically and I was
Mm-hmm.
doing some research and it was like a memoir, you don't have to do that. You just state the certain events. Cause at first I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do from the beginning to the end for her. Like we'll
Right.
do, and I started doing more and more research. Like, no, scrap that. The memoir is only
Mm-hmm.
those significant events that was compiled in. I was like, God, dog, why was I even thinking about doing it like that?
Uh-huh.
And so, but yeah,
And
that was
depending on
another
your story
another
type,
hurdle.
they can even be out of order.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I was like, "Oh shoot, why did I even
Yeah,
do that? That
grab
was
them
so
with the
stupid of
hook
me."
in the first part, and
Yeah,
then work backwards.
yep. And I was like, "What?" Yeah, so I had to kind of scratch the. I didn't
Hmm.
not I didn't make a revision, but I had to scratch that whole idea out as far as because I had an outline, and at that time it was 24 chapters, and it was outlined chronologically like that, like
Right.
boom. And so
24
then I
years
was
right
like,
there.
yeah, yeah, no, for real though. And I was like, man, and then so literally I scrapped more than half of the chapter. So right now it's just like 10 chapters right now, but they're
Hmm.
full chapters, and there's like 10 significant moments throughout her. 10 significant moments rather than 24 that really don't have no flow to it. It's just
Right.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is always the hardest part is cutting your own stuff too. I never like to do it. Like I have like an orphan folder that I move it all over into because I don't want to get rid of any of it.
Mm,
Because
mm.
they're like my little babies. I don't want to get rid of them.
Right, right, for sure. Dang. Yeah. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, so that was definitely what about you? What I know you asked me about my biggest hurdle or things that I had to navigate through. What about you though?
um, my guess biggest hurdle is probably like in my head. Probably. I'd been writing as long as I can remember, basically making up
Mm,
stories, and to try to. I basically stopped working when we had kids because it wasn't financially like it didn't make sense because
hmm.
like the cost of daycare and stuff actually was more than what I was
Yeah.
making. So in a weird way, we saved money by me not having a job. Um,
That's
I
ironic.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Irony.
it was very strange experience, and it was my biggest hurdle was kind of overcoming my own prejudice against myself, I guess. It was
Mhm.
okay for me to try to do this as a job, you know? Like it
Right.
always kind of felt kind of frivolous because I did it as a hobby. I didn't think I'd be actually any good
Mm,
at it. My biggest hurdle was myself, was my own anxiety and my own brain.
mm. Your own monster.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Your
but
own monster.
I feel like I'm constantly going back and like I think maybe I've stopped doing it recently, but I used to always ask my husband, like, is this okay that I'm doing this? I mean, you're still
Mhm.
technically the only one bringing in money. I just
Yeah.
it's just my own personal, I don't know, failings, shortcomings.
Yeah. Well, shoot, that mean the awareness that you have is also like inspiring in itself. Just if you feeling like you don't want to be a burden to someone else. You're thinking of outside yourself instead of just selfishly. So that's
Oh,
admirable right
well,
there
thank
in
you.
your journey. So that's pretty dope. Yeah,
Oh,
sure, for sure.
I will take that as a compliment and try to
Yeah,
remember
for
that next
sure.
time I'm having
Yeah,
self-doubt about my chosen choice of occupation.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, that's dope.
Well, thank you.
Speaking of dope, all right.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, so my friend, he's a musician, right? So
Hmm.
my friend, so the word dope is spelled DOPE, and obviously the thought around dope, well, now it's a slang word for cool, but like dope is like a
Uh-huh.
drug and things that nature,
Right.
things that you would be connecting and hooked to. But what he did, he's a musician, very artistic person, and so he spelled dope DHOPE. So it still sounds like
Okay.
dope, but it's
Right.
DHOPE. And his meaning behind the word dope is being a dealer of hope, someone that gives hope to people. And so
Ah.
he basically exchanged the whole thing. And I thought that was so cool. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I would have stole that. Like as far as like making a book title, like just
Uh-huh.
dope. The person that like, I was just like, man, dang it. I wish I
Man,
would
that
have
was such a
thought
good
that.
idea. I want it too.
Like, man, the dope dealer. I was like, man, but he spelled it DHOPE,
That
person
is
that gives hope. I was like, dang it.
that does give
Ah,
me like a little fuzzy feeling inside, like, oh, that's good.
I was like, no, you did it, man. Dang. So I'm honestly gonna think I might tell him like, look, just let me borrow that for a book title. Like, I give you a .2 royalty from yeah,
He
but
might take
yeah.
you up on it, especially if you credit him with it somewhere in the front or
Yeah,
the back or something and point people
true,
back towards
true.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely not out the window. I'm definitely gonna ask him about it for sure.
Hmm.
Without
Yeah.
a doubt.
In today's world, you can't ignore like little networking things. I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
feels so weird and alien sometimes, but like cross promotion, it's like you need it to survive.
Yes. You ain't lying, no, for real. Especially like I love Instagram. For me, it's
Mm-hmm.
like whenever I see my friend post or something, I could just put it to my story and like have
Mm-hmm.
the people view it, and usually they'll go and look at their page and stuff like that. So that's why I love, like you said, the networking aspect of it. Like I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. I find I have a hard time with that. I'm such an introvert. Like even on social media, I'm an introvert.
Oh wow. So I am is you might find this weird, but I'm an introvert too. But at
Mm-hmm.
times I can be super extroverted. It's the weirdest thing. Like to my family, they look at me as an introvert. I don't really talk that much. But
Uh-huh.
I get spurts to where I'm really extroverted. I don't know why it is the way it is, but I am a true intro inside.
Okay, well, power to the introverts.
Yeah, you ain't lying. They're the best storytellers, everything. Cause we just take in everything we observe and we write it out. So
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we probably should close this up.
oh for sure, man, for sure. It was a great time.
It was great. We didn't really talk
Luckily,
about theme all that much, but hey, we're working.
hey, the theme of this was expansion, it was exploration, it was diversity. The theme was exploring different themes and creating your own title.
That
You
sounds awesome. Well,
know.
well, thank you for being a great conversational partner.
Hey, no problem at all. I love being conversational. It makes, like I was talking to you about earlier, it makes something that's so black and white add color to it. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
That's a
um,
beautiful way of putting that. I love that.
oh,
I might steal that.
I'm over here thinking like, dang, I might have to take that somewhere. Something, yeah. Hey, but yeah, I appreciate you though. This was an awesome time, and you gave me a lot of nuggets that I'm gonna incorporate myself, like the music with it. I'm gonna try that for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I'm gonna try coffee, but it doesn't hurt to go to Starbucks and see what they got. But definitely some things that I'm gonna take from this conversation and apply it, in my workings. So I appreciate you on that for sure.
So join me next time when I'm going to talk to Samantha Chapman about her job as an editor. Until then, keep reading, keep writing, and go do what you do best. You got this. Read and Write Podcast is edited and produced by Deborah Z. Barth. Music was written and performed by Speechless and provided by Lofi Girl. Audio effects were created by Red Octopus and Black River Phonogram. Show notes and previous episodes can be found at readandwritepodcast.com. And again, special thanks to my guest, Kenneth Scott, and all the subscribers who make this podcast possible.